Run for your life! I'll cover you!
What's up, guys? This is Rob Robbie. I just finished watching The Punisher, all 13 episodes. Let me get a little comfortable. All right, so I just finished watching The Punisher. This is going to be a non-spoiler review. Before I begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'm just going to give you my thoughts about it. I'm not going to give any spoilers, like I said. My initial thoughts are that I can see why they pushed it back. It is very, very violent, but it's not too gratuitous. The violence is used to tell a story, and it's a vivid story. I really like how we get into what it's like for soldiers to come back. They really go into the mental aspect of it by isolating certain characters and kind of showing how they feel when they leave an active war zone and come home and kind of feel out of place. Well, definitely feel out of place. I also liked how they humanized Frank a lot more than they did in Daredevil. We learn a lot more about his life and kind of how we learn a lot more about how his mind works. I believe they say he doesn't have PTSD, but he has a disorder where he sees his family dying over and over. I think that's what they said in Daredevil. And in this one, we get to have an introspective look inside of his mind and see what he sees day in and day out. I do also like the fact that they don't paint him as a blanket hero, and we get to see that he's very much still a man on a mission doing not necessarily what's right. Let's say not morally right, but he's doing what he was taught to do where he was working. So while what he's doing might be considered bad in the society we live in, his mind is a war zone, and he's doing what he learned at war. And in our society that has law systems and structures in place to handle these sort of things, he is acting like the battle is still going on. There is no need for law. There's the urgency of doing everything right now and getting rid of the enemy. Also, this show really, really has good pacing. A lot of action. We have this problem in Defenders. The pacing in Defenders is really bad. And I also watched Stranger Things, and I binge watched Stranger Things sooner than I binge watched this one. But Stranger Things, the pacing isn't always great on the second season, unlike the first season, which had really good pacing. This is on par with, I'd say, Daredevil season 1 as far as story, as far as payoff for the characters. I really liked that we got to see a full story arc, which I think Marvel Netflix likes to cut off the story on the last episode, so we don't really get to find out too much about what happens after the chaos, which is one of those things that I really, really would like to see with these shows, because we kind of jump between seasons and there's so much that's left out. If any of you saw the end of Daredevil season 2, you'd understand what I'm talking about, where Matt Murdock and Karen Page have this conversation. Maybe it's the last few frames of the episode, and the episode is just over. So I like how this episode, or how this series, really goes into the full story. We get some sort of resolution, but not enough so that we think that the story is done and they can't do another season. For a show that wasn't intended to happen, the Marvel Netflix universe, they didn't really intend to make a Punisher show, but due to the popularity of the character off of Daredevil, we really got to see this character. They did a really great job. A level of quality put into it that wasn't put into Iron Fist, wasn't put into the second half of Luke Cage, and wasn't put into Defenders. But the quality of this show is second to none. It's absolutely amazing. think right now, if I had to rate it with amongst the rest of the shows, I would. It's up there with Daredevil season 1. Like I said, I don't know which one is better at this point. I just need more time to process it. I've seen Daredevil season 1 several times. And I also like Jessica Jones, but for different reasons. Man, it's really good. It's definitely up there. It's definitely better than season 2 of Daredevil. Getting into the characters, I don't have any notes with me, so I might screw up their names, but breakout characters, I would say Micro is a breakout character in this one. Micro, I don't know the name of the guy who plays him, but he does a fantastic job playing his character. We get to see the struggle. When he's first introduced, he's very lighthearted. And I was just assuming he was a bro. He's just a bro, like, because they kind of portray him as a kind of a nerdy frat bro type guy. But as the season progresses, you get to see this deeper, darker side of him, which is what I love about the Netflix universe. It's something that you can't do in movies, you can't do on TV. It's something that, you know, the short seasons, well, you can't do on cable television. We'll probably explore something like this on like an HBO or a Showtime, but you don't get to see the darker side of the human psyche. And that's something that I enjoy seeing as a character study. The next great role, obviously, is Frank Castle. Jon Bernthal does an amazing job as Frank Castle. And he's really good at portraying the dark, dark side of Frank Castle and the lighthearted side that sometimes people are able to bring out of him. He's one of those heavy presence that you feel in every scene, especially coming from The Walking Dead. He was one of those people when he has the conflict with Rick, you're like, this is the type of guy that could hurt somebody. And he really does a great job with that. The other character that was really good in this is Maidani. I wasn't with her at first. I thought her acting was kind of choppy for the first 7 episodes. But she brings it home well. And I enjoyed seeing her get more into the character. When the season started, it didn't seem like she was very into her role. But as the season progressed, she did a great job, especially towards the latter half of the season, like I said. Also, the different soldiers and characters were all phenomenal. Lewis was a soldier in this one, and I think he's introduced in the first episode. The actor does a phenomenal job. It reminded me of Ben Foster's take on, what was that movie? It was like a movie about the mechanic, and Ben Foster is just able to bring this intensity to a role where he seems harmless, but he has this ferocity. And I thought the guy who played Lewis did an amazing job showing kind of the symptoms of confusion, post-traumatic stress, anxiety, and feeling unwanted. So kudos to him. Also, we have the group leader who kind of leads a rehabilitation facility for soldiers, and he did an amazing job, fantastic job. I can't think of his name. His name was Curtis. Yeah, the guy who plays Curtis does an amazing job. He does a great job, and he is not there just to be some strong brute, which, you know, I have an issue with that. You could see in my other videos where you have this big guy and he's just a brute and brute force, and you need something done, let's just get this big brute to do it. So I like the fact that he's mostly a pacifist in this, and we get to see how he is portraying this outreach officer who works with people with PTSD, the stories he tells, and how each story told is an explanation and a journey down a path of reconciliation with society and reconciliation with our own versions of peace. And a lot of the soldiers in this movie or in this series are all going through their own issues as far as peace, whether it's growing up in poverty, whether it's being abused as a child. And it goes into what drives people to enlist, the sense of duty, purpose, and for some people, it is also, I think at some point Frank Castle says he really wants to fight. He wants to get his hands dirty. So I think that they did a good job portraying all of that with the stories, with the metaphors, and with the way that the episodes are structured. There's an episode, I think it's episode 9. I'm not 100% sure because I don't have any notes in front of me, but I think it's episode 9 where it's told as a disconjointed story. I thought that was a fantastic episode where we get to see the episode from everyone's point of view. So that was a great episode. So you should look forward to that. The battles are amazing in this, and it's definitely not made like a superhero film. So all of the battles seem real. You are in a real suspense. You're in suspense for the character's safety because we know as a viewer that they can't call for help from a superhero. Also, just as some sort of a background, this is a bit of a spoiler for Defenders if you haven't seen it. So if you haven't seen Defenders, just give me a second. I'm just going to say a quick sentence about it so you understand what's kind of going on in the story. So at the end of Defenders, we see basically a city block fall on Daredevil, and Daredevil is rescued and taken out of the city. So part of me, when the show started, I was like, where's Daredevil when Karen Page is in trouble? But I had to remember that at the end of Defenders, Daredevil is actually not in New York anymore. So I don't think he's in New York, but he's definitely incapacitated at this moment. So that's why there's so much weight on these characters, because you know that there's nobody out there to help them. All right, I'm done with the spoilers. So as I was saying, we have Karen Page in this. She does a phenomenal job. The actress, man, really can't think of her name. I'm really bad with names, but Karen Page does a phenomenal job in this. She continues her role as a reporter, and we get to see the development of her relationship with the Punisher. I think that, well, I'm glad that they put her in this because it's great to have a tie-in to the other shows, especially since The Punisher is one of those shows that is going to be tied in the least because he is a loner and he is the only one out of all of the people in Defenders who really has no problem with killing people. So when they do these Defenders shows, I could see why they purposely left out the Punisher. Also, the show was probably designed before they decided they were going to keep the Punisher character. Anyway, so definitely watch this show. It's bingeable. It flows really well. The earlier episodes are slow, but they are still very interesting. As you get towards episode 5 and 6, it's hard to stop watching. I told myself I wasn't going to binge this, and I ended up binging it. I think I watched all 13 episodes within 20 hours, so it's not bad. Anyways, guys, this has been Rob Robbie. I'm going to rate this show a 9.5 out of 10. Definitely check it out. 2 thumbs up. It is an amazing time. It's an amazing ride. It is very graphic, so if you have problems with that, I'd recommend maybe like switching to another browser, but still listening because so much goes on during the graphic scenes. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This has been my review. Peace. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe here. Right